Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. A little in between podcast while we're in the international break. Do excuse me as well. This is a lot of multitasking. I'm live streaming this on YouTube, Twitter, and then TikTok for the first time, giving that a go because apparently I'd unlocked that as well. So I'll do a few shorter videos over on TikTok. But morning to Tom Fairburn, Miss Noopy, Ryan, and Martin in the chat. A few people asking how am I surviving with no Prem this weekend? Well, doing a live stream in between probably sums it up. It's pretty dull. It is pretty dull without the Premier League. Martin asking the same question. How's everyone doing without the Premier League? Obviously got England this evening, and I'm actually quite excited to see how England do under Carsley. But again, it's not tournament football, is it? Is it Nations League? But anyway, we're going to start preparing for game week 4, Sun Dream Team. We've got Carabao Cup and the return of European football. So I'm going to go over a few changes to the fixture list first because it's been moving all over the place. If you look on the Dream Team app, at times it was showing there was going to be a triple game week when that was never going to happen. But there's been quite a few fixtures that have moved around. We were waiting for the Champions League, Europa League draws to all get put in their right places because we found out who people were going to play, but didn't know when they'd play them. And then, we've got the next round of the Carabao Cup. So I'm going to start off looking at who's got the most fixtures because this is the most significant fixture swing we've really seen since the start of the season. Because there's now teams that have Carabao and Europe. There's teams that have just Europe. And there's teams that have sort of neither, just Premier League. So we're going to go through those bit by bit and sort of show who's got the most fixtures and when. So the moves that have happened. Game week 4, there were some teams that had been scheduled in for Carabao Cup and Champions League, which, like I said, was never going to happen. So the teams that had Champions League got their Carabao Cup matches moved to game week 5. So, for example, Man City. They've got Brentford and Inter Milan in game week 4, and their Carabao Cup match against Watford that was also pending for game week 4 has now been moved to game week 5 alongside their Arsenal fixture. So the Champions League matches have been moved along, and that was expected. But I wasn't expecting teams that didn't have European football to have their Carabao Cup matches. I just assumed that they would probably stay where they were. There was an exception in West Ham because they were playing Liverpool, who are a European side. They would need their Carabao Cup match moved to game week 5. But there was a few strange ones. So Newcastle were penned in to play Carabao Cup in game week 4 against Wimbledon, I think it was, AFC Wimbledon. That's been moved to game week 5. Chelsea had a double game week penned in for Bournemouth and Barrow. That's now been moved to game week 5. And then Leicester as well. They had a Carabao Cup match against, is that Walsall? I'm not sure who that is against. WAL. Anyway, that's been moved to game week 5 as well. So I have Isak in my team. And quite a few people had Newcastle players that thought would be doubling in game week 4. But that has just been scrapped now and it's been moved back to game week 5. And quite a lot of people went for Cole Palmer this week. And that Chelsea fixture has been quite gutting. So he'll just have the single game week against Bournemouth. And I'll come on to it later, but there's been a bit of a sort of double whammy with Cole Palmer because not only has his double game week been moved from game week 4 to game week 5 if he plays against Barrow, he's also been left out of the Europa League conference squad. So he won't be playing Europa League conference unless they draft him in for the knockouts. So it's been a pretty poor week for Cole Palmer in terms of fantasy football, that is. So looking at how this affects the fixtures, I've got ffstuff.co.uk up on the screen. It's a free website. Really handy to do your fixture planning and make sure you get the most games out of people. I've moved the little arrows on the top. So we're going from game week 4 to game week 6. So the next 3 game weeks. And the clear difference is it tells you the amount of fixtures they've got on the left-hand side. And the teams that are in the Champions League will have 6 fixtures. The teams that are in Europa League will have 6 fixtures. So they have the most amount of games. These teams have 3 double game weeks in a row. Now, it doesn't mean that every player from these teams are going to play twice every single week. There will be rotation in the Carabao Cup. There will be rotation potentially in Europe. But the teams that have 3 double game weeks in a row are Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Spurs, and Manchester United. So these teams will have 3 double game weeks in a row. So if you're looking to maximize fixtures, you could go for the players that you think are the most nailed from these teams. I do think that most of these Champions League sides will rotate in the Carabao Cup, and probably Spurs and Man United as well. But that is the play if you're looking to get the most fixtures out of your players. Then teams that double in game week 4, other than the ones I've just mentioned, you've got Crystal Palace in there. So Crystal Palace will have a double game week against Leicester and QPR. And they went full strength in the fixture before this as well. So if you've got like an Eze, for example, maybe a Munoz, you could end up with a double game week there. Everton, game week 4 doublers again, and again, they went pretty strong. The only thing I would say about Palace and Everton is they had a bad start to the season, really. So they possibly used that Carabao Cup match to get a bit of confidence up. But Everton have got Southampton, so they've drawn a pretty strong side. So again, I think they might go pretty strong. You've got Wolves, who've got a double game week, but Newcastle and Brighton, I don't really think that's one that we're going to want to target. They rotated a fair bit. You've got Fulham with a double. So Fulham, they play West Ham at home and then Preston away. They rotate. I've got Robinson in my team. He got rotated. So again, not so keen on Fulham really for the extra fixture. You've got Brighton. They've had a decent start and actually their fixtures look really good. So home against Ipswich is a nice fixture. Wolves at home, they could rotate a fair bit, but it is a tough game. So they've got such a good squad. It's really hard to know with Brighton whether or not your players will get a double there. But then Nottingham Forest in a single in game week 5 isn't bad either. So I think Brighton are pretty decent to target. Southampton, I'm not that keen on them. Man United and Everton as their double, and then Ipswich the week after. And then Brentford are the other one. Did rotate quite heavily in the Carabao, but they have Man City in the Premier League game. And then I think that's Leyton Orient in the game week 4 fixture for the double. So I don't think they're as appealing. I'm liking the look of just going maybe straight in for the European sides, but you could probably get away with a Palace player or an Everton player, I think, for game week 4 doubles. Then game week 5, we've got obviously the teams that have their Carabao Cup fixtures, like I've just mentioned, are in the Champions League. But teams like sort of Arsenal versus Bolton, I don't imagine Arsenal are going to play a full side for that one. Liverpool for West Ham, that may go quite strong. But again, City for Watford, I see big rotation there. But the teams that do outside of Europe have a double in game week 5: Newcastle, Chelsea, Leicester, and West Ham. So West Ham, again, I think probably would go quite strong for that Liverpool fixture. So clear advantage, really, if you go for the European sides first. Probably could get away with Palace and Everton. And if you did want to hold on to your sort of Newcastle, Chelsea, Leicester, West Ham, it's not the end of the world, but you do sort of just get the single in game week 4. And in game week 6, things sort of go back to how we used to recognize them for Europe. All the European teams, including Chelsea, will have that double game week in game week 6. But like the chat I can see keeps saying, Palmer has now been left out of the squad. So he was sort of the first name that you think of when you want to get Chelsea players that will play in a double game week, but he has been left out of that squad. One thing to keep a little eye on with the European squads is there's a few sort of names that stood out. Like there's an A list and a B list you can get for these European squads. I think it's if you're under a certain age, or if you're under a certain age and you've played for the club a certain amount of time, you can just be put on the B list. So Garnacho and Kobe Mainu, I think it was, weren't actually named in Man United's European squad, but they can just be registered through this B list up to a day before the match. So I was trying to keep an eye out to see if maybe there was a loophole where Palmer could get drafted in for this, but I haven't seen anything confirming it yet. So I'm assuming with all the stories that he's been left out, he will be properly left out. I'll just have a quick look and see if we've got any questions on the fixtures a little bit more in the chat on YouTube. Morning to Aman. Morning to Phil. Strats, my boy. Evans, Bill Dorr, Toby, Callum. A lot of people on Palmer. Bill Dorr looking at swapping Isak for Son. You gain the fixture the week after. Don't know if he'll play in the Carabao though. That's the hard one to know. For Spurs, who have they got in the Carabao here? Coventry. Tough one. I'm not sure if he'll play in the double. I think they'll rotate. In the next 3 game weeks, so 4 to 6, again, teams with 6 fixtures: City, Arsenal, Liverpool, United, Villa, and Tottenham. These are teams that I'm going to start to look to target now when I'm building my squad. I think it's just easier to maybe plan longer term and get these players in, because I've only got up to game week 7 on the screen. But if I quickly bring up FF stuff again, these European fixtures go on for such a long period of time. They're pretty much running all the way up to game week 14, and I can only really see game week 13 without Europe, game week 11 without Europe, and game week 7. So I think there's 3 fixtures in the next sort of 11. 3 game weeks in like the next 11 that are singles. Teams with 5 fixtures: Chelsea, but Palmer's left out. So you might want to go for someone like Madueke potentially, or once we see what defenders they line up with, if there's not rotation there, I quite like to look at Colwill. And teams with 4 fixtures in this next 3: Newcastle, Palace, West Ham, Everton, Wolves, Fulham, Brighton, Southampton, and Brentford, and Leicester. But if you've got, like me, I've got Sells in goal, who I started off with. No Carabao now. He's only going to have 3 fixtures. So I'm looking at potentially doing like Sells to Martinez, in the hope that, well, I've got 3 fixtures out of Sells versus 6 fixtures out of Martinez. But that is only if you think that Martinez is going to play them all, because I don't think he's going to play the Carabao. So maybe you're looking at 3 fixtures versus 5 fixtures potentially. But overall, you probably are going to want to move off the ones that have got just the 3 fixtures. I'm going to quickly answer a couple of questions, and then I'm going to move on to my initial thinking for my team, and how I can benefit from these fixtures a little bit later on. So Aman's asking, Sells and the Jelkovic out for this week. I will come to that in my team, but I'm thinking of moving Sells on. But I'm thinking of keeping the Jelkovic, who, if you follow along, has been an absolute disaster, really. Seemed nailed on to play that match. But then they brought Bogard out of the youth team and played right back ahead of the Jelkovic, who had been coming on a sub in the last 2 matches. So that was a bit of a shock. Apparently kept a clean sheet last night on his international duty as well. But I'm thinking if Nedeljkovic does come on for 2 substitute appearances, he could get 2 points, 1 point in each. Whereas I'm not convinced that Sells scores more than 2 points against Liverpool in the one fixture, unless he does have a really good game and then makes a load of saves or gets bonus, something like that. Phil Trunks, keep Palmer or switch to KDB/Diaz. I like KDB for this week. I know Diaz has been on fire. We'll get the price rise. Scored, I think, last night as well on his international duty. So definitely is in really good form. I think that KDB is going to start both games, and I'm not certain that Diaz will. I guess KDB could also get a rest in one of them, but 2 home matches, Brentford and Inter Milan for Man City. I think KDB is a better pick if you can get there. But you do get a really nice price rise out of Diaz, and he's certainly a good pick. Strats, my boy, saying Palmer nightmare. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not terrible because he can hit double figures in a single game, and there's a lot of talk like he did this last season as well. Hit double figures in plenty of games. But last season he was cheap when we were sort of holding him regardless. I know he did end up quite expensive, but now when you're comparing him to like a KDB and the more expensive players, I think I want to go for someone that's a bit more definite on getting 2 games. Evans, yeah, the decision by Chelsea to leave Palmer out of the Conference League squad has stopped me from having him in my squad. Yeah, I think it would put me off picking him personally. But I don't think it's terrible if you have got him already. Bill Dorr, first time playing Dream Team. Hope you enjoyed it, mate. Currently 8th in England because he picked the week 1 team and didn't change anyone out. Although I have used my goal bonus. Bill, let me know. Is that what team did you pick? Because someone said someone sent me a screenshot apparently of someone that started with my exact team from game week 1. And they were 15th last week overall. But yeah, like they had used the goal bonus, so that might actually have been you that someone sent me. I don't know if you was 15th and then you went up to 8th. 8th in England, yeah. So it could be you. Let me know if you're 15th overall, because yeah, someone rubbed it in, saying if you'd have kept your team, you'd have been 15th. Taking McNeil out was my downfall. Strats, my boy, welcome to Dream Team. Yeah. Toby Croxford, Palmer situation is annoying. Been in my team since day 1. I mean, you've got decent points out of him, so it's not the end of the world. Stop online hate. Get a full Man City squad. How's that worked out so far? Not bad. Matt Brown, McNeil was a game week 1 punt and as a price rise. It's not bad. He's got that double and I think he'll play it. And he's right up there for Dream Team points. Someone that I picked out for game week 1 and then lost patience with. I should have kept hold of him. I think that's most of it on the fixtures. So we'll go on to my team at the minute, how I'm thinking about it, and then I'll answer a few questions afterwards. But yeah, with the fixtures, overall, I'm just mostly looking at trying to get European players in now, because if you can get the advantage of playing twice a week, I think that helps massively. So this was my team for game week 3. Seems ages ago now. So I got 122 points for the game week, 2.4k overall, but it changes so much this early in the season. Sells in goal got me 2 points. I think he's done a job for me, really. Those early fixtures for Nottingham Forest looked quite good. He's not been a bad pick to start off with. Grabbed 1 clean sheet. It was 7 points against Southampton and then 3 points against Bournemouth. But with Liverpool up next and then only playing sort of 1 game a week, I don't really fancy keeping hold of him. So I'll talk about who I'm looking at instead. Nedeljkovic, I mentioned, just the 1 point. Come off the bench. I expected him to start, but he didn't. And I've even listened to a few sort of YouTube videos from Aston Villa fans reacting to the Leicester game just to see what their thoughts are. Because I'm interested in a few Aston Villa players, and everyone, even the non-fantasy football community, were gobsmacked that he didn't start. Vardiol, 5 points. He got a shot on target, 7 player performance marks. So he's just 1 off a hitting 3 bonus, and then tackle points as well. I think he's been a solid pick. 5 points, 4 points, and 11 in that first one. I'm going to keep him through Europe unless he's getting rotated. And then Robinson, who's been brilliant, 6 points against Ipswich, grabbed an assist, got bonus, and he's been just chipping in with tackle points, bonus points, and even attacking returns. So I think he's going to probably be one of the last people I look to move out. Eze, 10 points. He's finally starting to come good now. He had that really good performance in the Carabao the week before, and then grabbed a goal against Chelsea. Another player that was 1 player performance mark off of getting 3 bonus. Someone that's typically really good for bonus points. So again, happy to keep Eze. I think Robinson and Eze are going to be the sort of 2 last ones that I look to upgrade, because they seem to do a job even in the single game weeks. Then Bukayo Saka. Got an assist, 11 points, so should probably rise again, I think. 3 shots on target, a big chance created, tackle points, bonus. Happy to keep him even as these fixtures get a little bit tougher with Spurs, Atalanta and Man City. All 3 away games, though, which is pretty tough. Then I've got Maddison, 4 points. He was on 3 points, which I was disappointed with, but that extra 1 point overnight had me feeling good. I'm not so sure about him playing against Arsenal, but he's decent for bonus, getting in some good positions, taking all the set pieces. So I think I'll probably just see it through and then hope that he gets conference. But I'm not entirely certain that he will start Europa League, not conference. I'm not entirely sure he will start. I'm hoping that he maybe just gets 70 and then 70. But if he does end up benched for them, I probably will look to move him on. Rodgers is one of these who's looked really good on the eye test, but hasn't really done it for points yet. 3 points, 5 points, and then 3 points again against Leicester. I think Leicester did a pretty good job of stopping him, actually. But at the price, 2.7, to have him playing in these sort of Champions League matches at that price, I think is really, really good value. Twice a week. And he's getting pretty much 90. Yeah, he has got 90 minutes in all 3 matches. So that is a decent sign. Haaland, 52 points with the captaincy, back-to-back hat tricks. So yeah, not much else to say about that one. I'm going to be keeping him in, and he's probably going to be my captain again this week. I think he's slightly edged it over Salah, and both of them have got decent fixtures. Salah, 19 points again, no real problems. They're both on fire. Brentford at home for Liverpool. No, sorry, Brentford at home for Man City, and then Forest at home for Salah. And then Isak, 9 points. So I kept the faith of Isak. I was sort of tempted to try and move to Chelsea players, but decided against it. I mean, he only outscored Palmer by a point, so it's nothing massive. He probably will get a rise. But now his Carabao Cup match for next week has been moved to the week after. He's going to have a single. The single is against Wolves, which again isn't bad. But I don't know if I want to keep him for just a single when I could start moving towards getting these double game week players in. So that is how my team is doing so far. Let me know in the chat how you're getting on. 2.4 overall rank. Here's a few of my sort of early ideas. So I am looking to maybe get, this is not set in stone because we've still got like a week to think about it. But I think this could be a good time to upgrade Sells to Emi Martinez. Just because of this European football, he gets 2 games a week. He got it last season. Villa don't keep that many clean sheets, which is a concern. That's kind of why you want your keeper in there. But he seems to be doing all right for bonus at the moment. He's 3.5. He got 6 points in the last game, so I think he'll probably get a rise. And then game week 2, he got a bonus point, saves. Game week 1, he got saves. And then Leicester, he got 3 bonus and saves. So I'm just thinking if I can get 2 points a week out, 2 games a week out of that for the next however long. I know he probably won't play Carabao. I think that could just be a decent one to have because I've already seen with Aston Villa, unless you sort of go with Konsa, I don't think you're guaranteed to get the 2 matches. Nedeljkovic obviously didn't get the start. I think Cash could potentially rotate when he is back. There is Diogo Carlos to come in, who maybe swaps around with Konsa or Torres. And then on the other side, I think there's definitely going to be rotation with Digne and Martson. So I'm thinking maybe just get Martinez in because these fixtures for Villa are really nice. I'll quickly just double back to the fixture ticker. But Everton at home, Young Boys away, Wolves at home, Wickham I don't think he gets, Ipswich away, and then Bayern. Bayern obviously not going to be a great match. But I was looking and I think Everton, Wolves and Ipswich are right down there as like the teams that have had the least amount of shots, the least amount of goals. So I fancy that for my keeper and a Villa defender. So I'm thinking of making the move now just because I've got Sells. If you have Henderson in goal currently, I think he's probably going to get the Carabao Cup. So I probably wouldn't make that move at this point. But for me, having Sells, I think it makes sense at the minute to maybe get 6 fixtures versus 3 or 5 fixtures versus 3. Also, Sells has got Forest. So if Sells ends up getting, he has Liverpool. If Sells ends up getting battered against Liverpool, maybe finishes on 0 points, for example, keeping Nedeljkovic in there, he might just scrape it. Ideally, I would remove him. But for now, Nedeljkovic is going to stay. And then best case scenario, so worst case scenario, maybe sub appearance or 2 sub appearances, 1 or 2 points. best case scenario, maybe he does get a start. So I wouldn't be too bothered with this one. Vardiol, he stays 2 home matches, Brentford, Inter Milan. And then Robinson, he stays as well. So West Ham at home, Preston away. I don't think he plays, but again, Robinson, he's going to get a price rise. He's done enough so far to keep his place. Then the next person I'm looking to move out would be Isak, like I said, because he's only got the one fixture, which he could do really well in one fixture still. He is going to get a price rise as well, so that's a little bit disappointing, but sometimes I think you've got to sacrifice it a little bit. Currently, I'm looking at moving. I'm flicking between 2 sort of players, but I'm looking at moving maybe Onana in there. But I have to caveat this. So I don't think Onana, he scored 2 goals in 3 matches. I don't think he's going to carry on scoring. He scored, I think, might have been 3 goals last season. I don't think that Onana is going to carry on scoring. I want to make that clear. But he did just score 8 points. So I think for a 2.5 player, he's probably going to go up 0.3. So I could get a rise out of him. And then if he gets any sort of tackle points, bonus or anything like that, he's got 2 matches to do it in. And I think Onana will play both that Everton match and the Young Boys match. So I don't mind that. That gives me £2 million in the bank to make upgrades elsewhere as we're moving into like a really important sort of European fixture time. I think that could be really handy, maybe to then help me upgrade Nedeljkovic, maybe by £1 million. And then I've got the choice of maybe upgrading an Eze or a Robinson. And that would leave me with pretty much the majority of my team being or having European football by the following week, which I think could be a big plus. So, yeah, I don't mind that. Having Rodgers and Onana, very cheap players. Onana 2.5, Rodgers 2.7 as my enablers to sort of see me through the 2 matches a week. I know that it's not an exciting pick. Neither of them are going to be amazing, but it's just what else it lets me do with the rest of the team I'm interested in. So that would give me 2 million in the bank. Then I could look to maybe get Robinson up to a Porro. The Nedeljkovic, I'd have maybe 3.5 to play with, 3.4. So maybe I could go for a Spurs defender, a Man United defender potentially, or even Cash if he comes back. So that's roughly what I'm thinking with that. The other option I'm looking at is maybe don't do Onana. So sacrifice the price rise. Then maybe look at doing Tielemans instead. Now, I think he's been pretty exciting as an option so far. And I'm hoping that he could maybe be something like the Douglas Luiz of last season. So we've got 10 points in that first match, 3 bonus points, played 90 minutes, got an assist, tackles, and a big chance created. So a really good match against West Ham. Then against Arsenal, no attacking returns, but he still come away with 2 points for tackles. Played the full 90 again, and then got bonus. And then this Leicester match, a bit more of a quiet one, so 3 points. Bonus, 90 minutes again, 2 tackles. Scored yesterday as well for Belgium. So might be on a little confident streak. And then I think there's a chance that Tielemans takes pens as well. I was looking back, he's obviously taken pens for Leicester before. And I looked back to last season's penalty shootout they had in the Europa Conference League against Lille. And you'd normally think that penalty taker number 1 and penalty taker number 5 are the sort of 2 best pen takers. And I think that penalty taker 5 was Douglas Luiz, who was their normal penalty taker. Penalty number taker 1 was Tielemans. So maybe there's a chance he could get pens for Villa this season. He's on some set pieces as well, taking some corners, taking some free kicks. So I don't mind Tielemans as an option, but that only leaves me 1.1 in the bank. So I will find it harder to maybe get players like Foden, KDB into the team a bit later on. Another sort of option that I was looking at was to bring in Luis Diaz, or Luis and Diaz. So Rico Lewis and Diaz. Diaz in the midfield for he's going to go up again by 0.3, I think, after hitting 15 points. 4.7 he is, so he'll probably end up at 5 million. A really good form. I'm just not certain that he is going to play twice a week. It's hard to know without this seeing what Slot does, but we know Klopp used to rotate a fair amount. We'll probably play Forest, then get a rest for AC Milan, I'd imagine. Or it could be the other way around where he's been on international duty. But I'm not 100% certain that he will get 2 matches a week. But he's a really good pick, regardless. And then that gives me a little bit to spend on my Nedeljkovic replacement, but it does mean keeping Sells in goal. But I did like the look of Rico Lewis, but there's been a few sort of quotes from Pep that sort of this has been pre-season and the real season starts after the international break and stuff like that. That sort of get me a little bit worried. Comments about Walker will be coming back into the team. So if I didn't go for Rico Lewis, I'd have to have a look at a few different options around that 3.4. I mean, I could go for like Pau Torres, for example. But again, I'm not certain that they play twice. So with this one, I don't feel like I'm as guaranteed to get the extra fixtures as I would have been. But I would get the budget building. I think it's probably going to be a 0.3 from Diaz. Lewis got 8 points, so Rico Lewis might go up 0.2, 0.3. So, yeah. I've just seen Bill Dorr say, can someone explain how the price rises work? I would recommend looking on the Dream Team website because they released an article that explains it really, really well. But it's pretty much based on your player's performance in the previous week against what their sort of predicted score would have been by Dream Team. No one knows exactly. But if, for example, if we pick Rico Lewis out, if Dream Team had sort of predicted that he will get 5 points or 4 points and he ends up getting 8, he'll get a rise. If he only ended up with a 2-pointer in that last fixture against West Ham, he's likely to have gone down the next week. That's a really sort of basic way. And then the price changes happen after the deadline. So you'll carry them in once you make the transfer. But yeah, I would recommend. I think I retweeted it on Twitter. But if you look on the Dream Team website, they put together a really good article on it that summarizes it. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm looking at. But I'm feeling the approach of going towards Aston Villa a little bit more at the minute. The way that I'd look at this would be to go more with the price changes and try and build some budget. I'm on 50. That's not right. What's on the screen? How does that work? On 52.7 team value at the minute. I've seen some well into 53 already that have been building well. So it is a bit of a concern. Sean reckons Diaz. Don't think Diaz will rise 0.3 as he matched the previous week point total. Yeah, that's another factor that's come into it actually, because I was chatting to someone about this with Onana. I think the week before does potentially come into it and then adjust what their prediction would be, because with Onana, he's only 2.5, right? And he hit 13 points in that first match. So he got a 0.3. But then he got 1 point against Arsenal. Now, getting a 1 point against Arsenal wouldn't be that abnormal. So you wouldn't think that he'd drop that much. But after the Arsenal match, he dropped 0.3. So it's almost like they predicted that he would do the same again. So you might be onto something with Diaz there. If they score really highly in the game before, it will probably boost up the expectation of what they predict they'll do the following week. So that is a good point, Sean. But yeah, that's my rough thinking. We've got a week until we actually have to make any changes. But I am looking more keen on this one. Keeping the Nedeljkovic, getting Martinez in for the long run. Onana or Tielemans. I prefer Tielemans. I sort of sold myself on Tielemans, but that only gives me 1.1 to make the upgrades versus having 2 million and having Onana as more of an enabler, expecting less points, but then making better upgrades. That's the sort of thing I've got to weigh up, I think, going into this. And of course, if Onana goes up 0.3 this week, I might be able to just sell him on to Tielemans the week after and bank a little bit of the budget. Maybe Tielemans stays the same or drops, but I don't like booking in transfers like that. So yeah, that's roughly what I'm thinking. I'll go through a few of these questions and then we'll wrap it up. It's just a shorter episode going into the well, covering the international break, basically. So let's have a quick look through some of these. Uh, so yeah, Matt Brown was saying the likeliness of Palmer getting called into the squad is not very likely, even if there was that B list. But he can still come back in for the knockouts later on. Richard Brown saying Chelsea confirmed that they were managing Palmer's minutes. I mean, he did pull out of the England squad with a supposed knock. I don't know how true or not that is, but yeah, that's what they're saying. Stop on Online Hate is asking, do I play a chip this week? Now, I actually don't hate this, and it has been playing on my mind a little bit that if I am weakening my team this week, and I probably might fall in rank this week to get a better score in the longer run by getting all these European players in. But I don't mind the idea of maybe playing a 12 man this week. Potentially someone that I couldn't afford as well, like a KDB maybe, or I'm really tempted by Ollie Watkins, but there were so many times last season that he blanked in 2 matches. And I really don't want to blank again on 12th man. I played it on Darwin Núñez last season and he let me down big time. I'm sure you'd like the idea of KDB as a 12th man though, seeing as you've got the All City team. Michael Hodgson, is it still worth leaving Palmer in? I think if you've got other things that you desperately need to change, I'll be happy to keep Palmer in. I think, let's face it, he could score really well in a single against Bournemouth. I don't think he's a bad pick. Obviously, you've got to wait and see whether he actually is injured or whether that was just a international break injury. Callum doing sales to Martinez and Isak to Diaz. Yeah, if you can afford that, that's decent. I couldn't afford that budget wise on my team. Michael Hodgson, Lewis in for Burn, and Onana for Smith Rowe. Yeah. I don't think Smith Rowe's going to get 2 games a week. It looked like he got a start plus a sub appearance, but again, he's going to be someone that they manage his minutes, I think. But he started pretty well. Yeah, Simon's saying when they say Palmer left out, does that mean he won't even be on the bench? Yeah, he's not named in the squad. So in European football, you have to name your squad beforehand. So he'll just be watching in the stands or on the bench, but not able to come on, something like that. Yeah, he won't be eligible to play. Matt Brown, Martinez will play all Prem and Champions League games. Nothing more until late rounds of the Cups, possibly. Gauchi had a decent pre-season, so most likely he'll play Carabao. Yeah, I think that's right. I was having a look and I saw you had Olsen as well, but it seems like he will be the guy that plays Carabao. Martinez didn't play Carabao last season, so I think you're right. It's probably 5 matches in the next 3 weeks for Martinez instead of the 6. So you take out the Carabao game. Should I hold on to Foden or take the hit and change him out? That's hard as well because we don't know what's wrong with him. They've just said it's illness. It's all just guessing at this point. But I think you've been really unlucky. He's not going to get a price decrease. So if you are willing to hold him at 6.2, is it? And then just wait till when do they play on that weekend? Let me just have a look. Sometime they're a 3 o'clock kickoff on the Saturday. So if you get some early team news that Foden's fine or Pep comes out and says Foden's fine, I probably would just keep him because I think he's a really good pick. Maybe they were just keeping him fresh till after international break. Strats, my boy, is doing sells to Steele from Brighton. Yep, he seems like a decent price. I don't know if you'll get... No, I wouldn't do Steele. I would not do Steele. Isn't the other keeper now the starting number 1? Yeah, mate. Verbruggen's started the Premier League in Game Week 3 and Game Week 2 now. Still started the season, but Verbruggen is back in at 3.3 million. Still might get the cup game, but I'd go Verbruggen if you want the Brighton keeper, not Steele. I think I've read that right. Ryan Kirk, Palmer, Gordon, Ned, Burn, and Sells are all on the out list. You need a wild card, mate. Which two, in your opinion, would be the priority to ship out? Well, you've seen my thinking on Sells and Ned, but like, I don't want to recommend to anyone to keep hold of Nedeljkovic really, because I'm not certain that he starts, and I'm not expecting anything from him. Probably Ned and Sells, but again, you've not got much money to work with there. That's the only problem when it comes to replacing them. You kind of need a little bit of budget from another player to upgrade them. So yeah, maybe you could remove Palmer, maybe get someone cheaper in Luis Diaz, and then use the extra money to upgrade one of Ned or Sells. Maybe could be the way. I think you might be better off just trying not to do Ned and Sells at the same time. I think Dan Burn's going to play, and I think Gordon's going to play. You know, at least they're going to play, whereas Nedeljkovic isn't. Michael Hodson saying cheese, but he meant Chiesa. Auto correct, I guess. No, I wouldn't get Chiesa in. He probably plays Carabao Cup and then sub appearances. I don't think he's going to be starting anytime soon. Martin Hutchinson, Palmer out for Watkins. I really want Watkins, but the signs haven't been entirely great, have they? He's had early subs in both games. I know he didn't go away on international duty, so maybe he's going to have a nice rest and come back refreshed. I think he starts both games. 7 points against Leicester because he got that jammy assist, didn't he? But only 61 minutes, 65 minutes against Arsenal, 62 minutes against West Ham. I don't know, man. That's tough. I do see myself getting Watkins quite soon if he is starting and getting decent minutes again. Yeah, maybe take the punt on it. I don't hate it, and I don't think many people will go there. There's a big trend this season or in normal seasons where people sort of only transfer in the players that have done well the week before. Where Watkins hasn't done great, it'll definitely be not very highly owned. You know, if he does really well this week against Everton, who have been poor, everyone will get him the week after. So there's a chance to get on him early, but he hasn't been his usual self. Bildor. I currently got Sells, Livramento, Vardiol, Robinson, Dwight McNeil, Saka, Rogers, Eze, Isak, Salah, Haaland. Oh, I've read this one out. Currently 8th, 9th overall. Nice one, mate. Keep going. Villa's Onana for a cheap route into Europe. Yeah, you've just seen. I don't think he's going to score really, really well. But if he is averaging I don't know, if he's averaging even sort of 3 points a game and coming away with 6 for the week, I don't think that's terrible for a 2.5 million player. Just to sort of chip along. Like if you had a 2 million keeper or a 2.5 million keeper in goal, you'd take 6 points a week. So if you've got a 2.5 million player out on pitch, you'd probably take 6 points a week. I don't mind it. Callum, 8.4 million to pick a keeper and a midfielder / striker. Thinking Martinez and Diaz. What are your thoughts on the duo? Yeah, you just seen there too that are on my sort of watch list. So if you can go for that, I would do. Salah, Haaland, Eze, Saka already. Yeah, don't mind that at all. Let me see if I've got any on TikTok. Almost forgot I was on here. I don't really know how to work it very well. Cheers if you are tuned in on TikTok. And if you have TikTok and you're one of my usual sort of YouTube watchers or Twitter watchers, feel free to give us a follow over there. I won't be doing any of the TikTok dance trends as much as you'd probably love to see that. Solely Dream Team short videos. Someone asking me on TikTok, can I fix a television? No. Sorry. No, that was the only question. Can I fix a television? Yeah, maybe we're still finding the audience on TikTok. 372 points for Luke, 400th overall, no boosters played. That's a really good start, mate. Simon Jones, I've had Semenyo from day one, and we'll get a price rise, but only one game against Chelsea. Maybe keep him. I don't think that's a problem. I mean, Chelsea attack looks all right, but their defense looks pretty poor. And Semenyo was right up there for like the most shots on target, I think, so far this season. He's had a really good start. So if you want to carry on building budget, I don't mind that. It might have been most overall shots rather than shots on target, but still not a bad start from him at all. Matt Brown, can't see Carlos coming in for Concert as a starter other than Carabao. Concert starts centre back or right back. Yeah, I think Concert's the nailed one, really. The reason I'm not interested in him is because there's just such a big price difference between him and the others. Is he at 4 million now? Yeah, Concert at 4 million. And then you drop down to 3.3 for Torres. I can see Torres being the one that maybe goes out for Carlos if he's about. Just because I think Torres always seems to get injured. Yeah, it might just be me, but if you're a Villa fan, you might know a bit more. But I don't seem to think that he always strings that many games together. Matt Brown, there's no Matt. Are you a Villa fan? Kancina Jelkovic starting at least one of the two games. I'll take that. I'll take that all day. Morning, Dean from Cyprus. JC, I've got Martinez in for Pope and Salah in for Palmer. No arguments. Looks decent. Should I swap out Livramento? I would. Although you did pick probably the better one than going for Hall. I'd probably try and swap him out for someone that you think is going to have Europe, I think. Callum, I'm focusing the first quarter of the season, focusing on getting price increases so I can afford all the best players for the remainder of the season. Yeah, fully valid strategy. I've seen loads of people do this well. Build up the budget and then you can get the big hitters in later. Maybe have a little bit of catch up to do on points, but yeah, it's a decent strategy. 8.4 million to pick a keeper. Oh yeah, I've already read that one as well. The chat just keeps jumping back up again. Just seen Strat. As much as Strat's my boy. Being summoned off to the cinema. So have a good one, mate. Jen, morning. Thinking Villa too, just because Arsenal and City play each other. Expect that to be a tight game. Already I have 2 Liverpool players, but honestly change my mind every day. Yeah, I don't think the Villa players are like the best, but the fact you're going to get such cheap Champions League players from them, you're not going to get 2.5 million Champions League players or 3 million Champions League players from Arsenal, City, or Liverpool. So it just seems the way to go. Steve, what do you think of Chiesa? Again, I wouldn't pick him. Maybe we just wait and see. I'd put Chiesa in the same category as Sterling for Arsenal. Don't do anything until you see what they're doing in the team. I think Sterling's probably going to do it maybe a little bit better than Chiesa. Maybe that's a bit of bias, but yeah, I think mostly they're going to be sub or rotation risks. Worth jumping on Havertz from Sean. Tough fixture run, but I think he'll bang 20 goals this season. Let me flick back to the fixture ticker because I think he could be good for game week 6. Tottenham away, Atalanta away, not the best. City away in game week 5. Bolton, I don't think he plays, but then in game week 6, it starts a bit of a better run with Leicester at home. Obviously PSG at home, which is not great, but then Southampton at home as well. So Southampton and Leicester, that I think 6 is a decent time. But if you want to get him in early and for a price rise, I don't mind that. It's a decent price at the minute. Jen, need to get rid of Semenyo. Yeah, if you've got nothing else to do, you can. But it's not the end of the world to keep hold of him, I think, for a rise. Or take Smith Rowe out. Yeah, I don't think Smith Rowe is going to get 2 games, personally. I think I'd rather Semenyo now. Elroy. Do you do Doku to Mbuemo and Arobingham? Oh, sorry. Do you do Doku to Mbuemo and Arobingham to Diaz to chase price rises? Who else has Mbuemo got? Because I don't love the City game. He's got City, then I don't think he plays in the Carabao. Then it's Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves. I don't mind. He's on corners. He's got penalties now. I don't mind it. And then Doku's probably only going to get 1 a week anyway. Yeah, I don't mind that. Doku to Mbuemo. You're losing a European player though, but does Doku start 2 games a week? Not certain. Robingham to Diaz. Yeah, that's tough. I don't mind it. I'm leaning towards do it. What are you thinking on Ahmad? I don't like Ahmad on this game, just where he's down as a striker. I think the striker spots are too valuable, really. 2.8 million, but just blocks you off if you want to get another striker in. I think. I'm going to go to a 2 at the back, 2 up front. I think, but I wouldn't be surprised if I maybe get a Havertz or a Solanke or a Son in at some point, maybe a Watkins, and that option's always open then. Jen's asking who the keeper will be for Chelsea in Europe. I've got no clue. That's a wait and see, I think. I don't even know how many keepers they've got available now. They just seem to keep signing keepers. One on TikTok, Sells and Semenyo or Henderson and Onana/Rogers. Henderson and Rogers for me, because I think Henderson gets the double in the Carabao Cup. Sells will have a single against Forest. Semenyo, single Bournemouth versus Rogers, double in the Champions League. So yeah, I'll do that one. Killian on TikTok as well. So who would you advise taking out? Gordon out for Diaz. But also have Jota and Livramento. I don't think Jota's a problem. Jota and Livramento. 2 points for Jota. You could do Jota to Havertz if you're worried about the price change. I know there's a couple of tough games coming up. But then you could just hold him maybe for their easier games later. Gordon, Livramento. I mean, Livramento could get the double the week after, potentially. But Trippier hasn't gone, and I thought he was going to go. $3.1 Livramento. So you could maybe go to a Villa defender if you wanted to. Don't do Nedeljkovic though. But you could do a Digne or Pau Torres if you can afford it. But I'm just not sure that they get 2 a week is all. Oh, I've got the rest of your team. Sorry, I scrolled up. Yeah, I don't mind that the Jota to Havertz one. I'll have another look and I'll send you a DM. Right, I'll do a couple more. Getting near the hour. 373 people watching on YouTube, I think that is. If you could hit the like button if you've enjoyed it so far, and also do check out the Dream Team Tonic podcast, because around this sort of time, normally when there's a deadline, would be 2 minutes away from the deadline. We do deadline streams on the Dream Team Tonic podcast, so do check that one out. YouTube, podcast platforms, Twitter, and then we've got a Patreon community as well. There'll be a link in the description below for that one. I've got about 100 odd members chatting about Dream Team on a daily basis. Steve Ricks, should I keep a Dharma Traore as a cheap enabler? He's been a blast from the past, back to his old self. I don't think it's going to carry on, but he's done well. 2.8. 10 points. You're going to get a rise out of him. I don't know how nailed he's going to be. What's he started so far? 78 minutes, 69 minutes. Didn't play Carabao. 90 Ipswich. He could take the price rise on him, but then maybe eventually move that to maybe a Villa midfielder, if you liked the sound of any of Rodgers, Tielemans, Onana maybe, and then keep them as your 2 a week, because I don't think he plays twice, but you could take the price rise. Miss Snoopy, what do you think of Matty Cash? It's just whether he's fit or not. He's got a hamstring injury at the minute, but I think it'll be soon after international break he'll be back, and then when he is back, he definitely starts the Prem, and I wouldn't be surprised if he starts 2 a week. I had Matty Cash quite a lot last season because he can get attacking returns, he gets good tackle numbers as well. So I think Matty Cash is a good pick when he's fit, but obviously he's out currently. We don't know when he's going to be back, but I think it will be quite soon. That's why the Nedeljkovic one was a short-term punt on Cash being out, but Bogard come in and surprised us all. So I don't mind Cash as an option once he is back fit, because he's only 2.7. And I guess, oh no, he didn't play at all, did he, Leicester? So he's not going to go down again. But at 2.7, if you can get a 2.7 starting defender in the Champions League, 2 a week, I like that. Sorry, apparently I've got to solve a puzzle on TikTok to carry on. There you go. One last one. So, Sun Dream Team Master on TikTok. Give him a follow if you're on TikTok as well. What do you think about using 12th man for this game week? So yeah, I'm interested in using it. So the people I'm liking the look of for using it would be Watkins as a punt, because I think the fixtures look good. So Everton at home, Young Boys away, and Everton have looked really poor at the back. But the downside on him is sort of minutes. He's not getting the full 90s now, and he has got a blank in him. I think any player that you really want but can't afford is a pro of using it this early. Like a De Bruyne, I can't physically get De Bruyne in this week, but I would love to have him in my team. If it wasn't an international break currently, I think I'd definitely be going De Bruyne. I'm just a little worried. Maybe like if Foden's been sort of resting at home all international break, and De Bruyne just scored 2 goals yesterday for Belgium. He wouldn't be 100% surprised if like Pep does something a bit wild and doesn't give the full minutes. But I do like the look of maybe, like a De Bruyne if we know he's starting. Just really, if there's anyone that you think will really smash it this week and get 2 matches, I'm not against it. And you can't fit them in, or maybe you don't want them the following week. Because like De Bruyne, for example, I know he can do really well, but that game week 5, if De Bruyne just plays Arsenal and doesn't play Watford, probably wouldn't want him. But I would want him for game week 4, Brentford and Inter Milan. So like a use like that, I don't mind it, but I do always still think there will be other weeks. And like with the Watkins example, you could maybe bring in a striker that you know is scoring every single week, rather than that one's a bit risky. But yeah, if there's a player that you really think will smash it in 2 games this week and you can't get to them, and you maybe don't want them the following week, or you want to bring them in but you think they're going to get a price drop or something like that, I don't mind 12th man for this week at all. I'm going to wrap this episode up. It was going to be a short one, half hour, but don't believe in short pods. So bang on the 1 hour mark. Hope you've enjoyed that on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Please leave a like wherever the hell you're listening. Yeah, and do give the Dream Team Tonic podcast a follow. We'll be doing our next episode at some point before the deadline next week. So cheers, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.